Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. We are going to be talking about our favorite EPs today, right? We've had lots of requests for this. I think someone on the panel also brought this to mind a couple weeks ago. So we've all picked out our three favorite EPs, and we'll be talking a little bit about them today. Before we do that, let me introduce the crew. Mr. Chris Allo is here. Brian Scow is here. Nick Franco's here. Craig Kaminsky's here. All four of these gentlemen, as well as Lynn Versace, have survived the heat of the chance last weekend for Overkill, where it was reported to be almost 130 degrees inside the chance.
Fuck that place.
Man.
Holy fuck, it was hot.
Chris Canzoneri's here. Count Ralphus is here. Ralph Tambora and Rob Lasante is here. Greetings, gentlemen. What's going on?
What's up?
Ready to talk about EPs?
Yep.
All right. Chris Allo, what is your first EP, one of your first or favorite three?
Okay, I remember we did this topic a couple years ago, and I'm putting the blame squarely on Pete Pardo because I had like a shit ton of vinyl EPs all in one spot, and I couldn't fucking find them anywhere. So I'm blaming Pete.
So you're going to blame me because you never put them away the first time?
You never put them away 2 years ago.
I put them all in the same spot. Now, where that spot is,
okay.
I have no idea.
It's a good spot, though.
It is a good spot. When I find it, I'm going to be glad because they're all there. So, yeah, so I only found a couple things, but my number one is probably, wait, are we going back? That's right.
Whatever order, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. All right, I'll go with this one. All right, my number three. I have like 5 copies of this. I only found one. It's 3 or 4 tracks depending on which version it is, and Slayer is one of my all-time favorite bands, and this is my all-time favorite Slayer track, Haunting the Chapel. This was a Japanese pressing, and I got it signed by Kerry King, and I love it. I have, let's see, I have the CD, the tape, and 2 copies on vinyl. I think I might have another CD too. I don't know, but I love it. And yeah, Haunting the Chapels. I mean, there's other tracks too, but Haunting the Chapel, that's my all-time favorite Slayer track. And they did do it once live in like 2002, maybe, I'm going to say. So yeah, that's my first pick.
Cool. And we didn't kind of clarify at the beginning what exactly is an EP. EP stands for extended play. We discussed it amongst ourselves. So generally speaking, we consider an EP 25 minutes or less, thereabouts. Could be some examples have, 2, 3, maybe 4 new songs, maybe a live track, or 1 or 2 new songs, a couple live tracks, or an unreleased this and unreleased that. But generally speaking, it's 20 to 25 minutes, or even less than that, right? Because the one that Chris just mentioned is definitely less than that, but that's one of the great ones, of course, which I'm sure will be brought up again later today at some point. We'll see. Good start here. Ryan, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so I thought, obviously being a pretty big metalhead, EPs are a really integral part of, especially underground, like black and death metal, as Ralph and Nick, and I'm sure most of you guys can, when you start putting your list together, if those are the genres you delved into, there is to use a precise scientific term, a cosmic fuck ton of good EPs in those realms of music. So I said, you know what, I'm going to pick some lesser known ones, more obscure ones, fucking shock. Just to talk about some bands that I don't usually talk about. So just for the record, off top, my favorite EP of all time is Haunting the Chapel, Slayer. But Chris already talked about it, my favorite. So I'm not going to really go into that. So my number 3 is from London, England. This is from 2018. So I have CDs, I have tapes, I have all formats. In this case, this is a 7-inch or a 45. Not my favorite format for music because it's like you have to constantly flip the fucking thing over because it's only like 1 or 2 songs per side. I need like a pancake spatula thing to like flip it from across the room, instead of having to get up and go back and forth to the turntable. But this EP is called Subterranean Death Rising. So I mean, like a lot of you guys, I always listen to new music. You always want to find new bands that you like. You always want to check new bands out. And sometimes you hear bands, you're like, that's pretty good. I'll buy the album. You listen to it. You maybe see the tour. It's pretty rare. Yeah, at this point that I hear a band that just like blows me out of my fucking seat. I put it on it, something like, holy shit. Like right away, I could see it becoming something I listen to all the time. Maybe one of my favorite bands. So I checked these guys out when their demo came out in 2015, and it just blew me away. Fucking amazing. and they haven't released an album yet. They only have a demo and a CP. They're working on their full-length album. Should be out next year. Ral, if you're fucking watching this, get off your ass and into the studio and fucking record it. He's a friend. The guitarist is a friend of mine. But yeah, because in this case, the demo and this EP were so good. A couple years ago when I was traveling to England, to London for another reason, I ended up reaching out to the guy. I'm like, you guys are fucking awesome. Your band's fucking awesome. This is the greatest shit ever. I'll be in town a couple weeks to see a show. I'm sure you're going to the same show because it's obviously our all kind of music. You want to meet up and have a beer? Yep. Now we're friends years later, go to the circus together, watch the monkeys and the elephants. Yeah. So it's to describe this, it's like classic Possessed, very, very early Morbid Angel, Sarcophago, if you know the obscure Texas band Necrovore, just like kind of that right where death metal and thrash metal kind of were coalescing at the very end of the 80s. Just great atmosphere, just great evil music. There's only 2 songs on this, but it's just fucking awesome. I put it on all the time. They only have 7 songs to their name so far, so can't wait for that full length to come out. But yeah, this is my number 3. Necromaniac, Subterranean Death Rising. And I'm sure you can, it's on Iron Pegasus Records from Germany. I had to order it from the label, but from Germany. But I'm sure at this point, if you really want it, if you hear it, it's on YouTube or, Bandcamp. You can find it easily if you want to hear these songs. Lots of smoke, lots of skulls, all the good metal shit, bullets, chains, everything you want out of a good obscure black or death metal band. Although they refer to themselves as morbid metal. They are not black metal. They are not death metal. They are morbid metal. If I didn't say that on here, he'd probably yell at me for not getting that right. But yeah, Necromaniac is my first choice. Great band out of London. Can't wait to get their album whenever it fucking comes out.
Morbid metal. All right.
Morbid metal. It fits too. It is a fitting title for the music.
Cool. Mr. Cans, what do you got for us?
All right. I never really did buy a shitload of EPs in my lifetime. I was always like, I want more for my money, and I avoided them for some reason. But I did grab a few. The first one I got, this is more as a collectible than actually me liking what's on it, but Found All the Parts by Cheap Trick.
Oh, wow. Jesus. Yeah.
10-inch record right here, big 10-inch record. It's got 4 songs on it. It plays at 33 1/3, but 10-inch record right here. It's got a kick-ass live version of Day Tripper on it. And then the rest of it, it's like oddities and rarities and stuff like that. But the only 10-inch record I got out of, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 albums I have. But Cheap Trick, Found All the Parts. And this one came with a 45 too. So I guess it was too small to put everything I wanted to on it. So
that is indeed a rarity. I haven't heard about that in a million years. Very cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Craig, what do you got?
All right, my first one, I went for something from 1988, and I picked Creators, Out of the Dark, Into the Light. Has 2 studio tracks on it, Impossible to Cure, and a cover of Raven's Lambs to the Slaughter, and then some live tracks also from 1988 from Terrible Certainty, Riot of Violence, and Awakening of the Gods from the Flag of Hate EP, another one from earlier in that. But I really like the two studio tracks on this, and the live tracks are actually really well recorded and sound really nice for the time period and the type of music that it is. So really enjoyable Creator, Out of the Light.
Cool. Very cool. Nick, what do you got?
I got a whole mess of things around here and a lot of indecision.
You better narrow it down.
Yeah, well, it's tough, and I think you're right, Ryan. I think with some of these, I think they're going to be so obvious that I'm gonna just let this one have been spoken for. I think this is the best EP ever created to tape, but most of us think something along those lines. So, in the interest of keeping it interesting and maybe a little different, I will. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a Norwegian black metal band called Arcturus, and this is the Constellation EP, and this came out a long time ago. I want to say 94, 95, And as you can see, it's not a usual color scheme for a black metal band. They were not a usual black metal band. And what I love about this EP is that it's the type of keyboard driven, creepy metal that, you know, it's not going to punish you with speed. For people who are not aware, they were one of the weirder black metal bands. They were super creative, young. At the time, these guys were all so young. They were neoclassically or classically trained. I don't know what the right word would be, but they were well beyond their years. So the keyboard parts were, I mean, this thing is raw and also sounds classical. And the songs are fairly catchy. The vocal arrangements are, there's a lot of, you know, robust sort of clean vocals going on. Then, you know, another part, they'll be screeching like animals. And it's, you know, it's definitely in the black metal realm, but I would dare say it's way more accessible. If you like anything, any creepy horror atmosphere, these guys did a great job with this EP. And some people think it's the best thing they've ever done. I think the album that came out right after this, which featured reworked songs, redone similar songs to this, I think was probably their strongest, but this came out right before. So in the interest of keeping it interesting, I'll say Arcturus Constellation as my first choice, or my third choice.
They are indeed a unique band.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff going on.
I was going to say, did we lose cans? It looks like we did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right, Rob.
Rob or Ralph?
Rob, sorry. Ralph wants to go last. So
Oh, okay. Thanks. For me, yeah, this was difficult too. I don't have, like Cans was saying, I don't have that many EPs. I did, like Chris, I was looking for, I went through some of my old CDs. I did find a bunch of CDs recently that I do have, you know, because I don't do too much show and tell here, obviously, but one of them I have here. But my number 3 tonight, go back, it's only a couple of years old, 2021. It's a band that I really like a lot, and the band is Insomnium. And the album from 2021 was Argent Moon, came out in September that year. So it was in between Heart Like a Grave had just come out, and this was kind of like a 4-song EP that they did. It was kind of telling a story. And the guy from Sonata Arctica was the singer on this. And it's really a great album. It's really a great album. If you like death metal with melodic tendencies, which this band has a lot of recently, especially, the old stuff is really heavier, but I like the incarnation of what they've been doing the last few albums, Heart Like a Grave, and then later on in 2023 they just came out with the 1696. So I think it's about 23 minutes long. That's it. But it's one of my favorite albums of recent, and and for an EP, it's really good. So if you guys don't have it, I recommend it highly. Insomnium.
Good band. Really good band. Cool. Ralph, look at that awesome Celtic Frost shirt you got there.
Can you guys read the name of this band?
A little reflection.
Reflection, yeah.
You see it on this one?
Turn. There you go.
Son of Perdition. Oh no.
Sea of something?
Sea of Tranquility.
Sea of Tranquility.
Oh shit.
Wow.
They're not one of my picks though, but I've been looking for a reason to pull this out for what it is.
Hands is back. All right.
It's a split with the band's Numbskull.
Oh, I remember them.
It is an EP. It's an old band. I never heard them doing anything else, but they were on Rage Records. But so yeah, I'm glad everybody's following after Chris picked this. We're all just gonna, well, some of us are just saying this is my all-time, without thinking about it, this is my all-time favorite EP since the day it came out. I learned all the words to this like in a week, and it's always, since it's come out, it's been without a thought in my head. It's always been my number 1 EP. So I'm gonna skip it and not talk about it. Now I get to pick something else because yeah, that's the best. So I'm gonna throw this one in there instead. Now, Merciful Fate. People refer to it as Nuns Have No Fun.
Yep.
But it's a little bit raw compared to what they go on to do production wise and stuff. But still, the songs are there, unbelievable. and that'll be my number 3.
Cool. That's a great choice. All right, my number 3, I'm going to go with 1985's The Dungeons Are Calling by Savatage. 6 songs, right? It's kind of on the longer side. There's the LP right there. Yep. This came not that long after Sirens, and it was just as heavy as Sirens. There's some great stuff on here. The title track is amazing. Midas Night is great. By the Grace of the Witch is good. The Whip, the whole thing is really, really good. And just, this is the band early on before they kind of took on more kind of progressive and kind of power metal elements. This is just classic heavy metal. Great shrieking vocals from John Oliva, and of course the great guitar playing of Chris Oliva, the late great Chris Oliva. So yeah, Dungeons and Callings is my number 3. Back to Chris Allo.
Okay, my number 2 is an EP I looked for a while, so I couldn't find it, so I just bought the bootleg. But it's even the bootlegs now of this go for quite a few bucks. It's a 4-track Bullet EP from the Misfits. These 4 songs were originally going to be on their Static Age album, which didn't come out till like the 90s. But it's just 4 Misfits classics. Bullet, We Are 138, Attitude, and Hollywood Babylon. And it's just classic songs. I love all 4 tracks. I'm not really into politics, but the cover is pretty crazy. I have the shirt, but I'm too fat to fit in it. But that's my number 2, Misfits Bullet EP.
All right, cool.
I remember seeing that in the store. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, the original pressing.
Yeah.
Well, that's worth some money.
They go
I'm
for
like
bucks
you,
now.
Chris.
Man.
I got the bootleg 7-inch too, just like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the original
They're,
version is worth
they're
some real cash.
outrageous. Outrageous.
Oh, it's insane with that. Yeah, probably over $1,000. If I just had to get.
I would imagine, yeah.
Nuts.
If you could even find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ryan, what do you got next?
All right, so I'm going to go over to one of my favorite countries for metal, Greece. See a album or an EP. It's about 15 minutes long. It came out in 2003. Again, in the interest of talking about bands and stuff I don't usually talk about, but one of my favorite bands. Been fortunate to see them a couple times now. They don't come to the States very often. So I'm going to pull out a tape. This is a tape reissue. The band is Zemil, and it's fun trying to show a fucking tape on here. The EP is called Face of the Conqueror. And this is so they're in some ways kind of traditional Greek black metal. If you're familiar with bands like Riding Christ, Varathron, Necromantia, like some of the bigger Greek black metal bands, they have some of that. This EP is a little more of like a black thrash mix, definitely a little more thrash metal in there. It's just short to the point, a couple good songs in and out. Every song's fucking great, because I think one of the things about EPs like this is there's no time for dead space. So you're really going to have 3, 4, 5 songs, and even if one of them kind of sucks, it kind of ruins the whole thing. It's not like a 9-song album, or I can skip track 5. If you have 4 songs and 2 of them suck, that's half the fucking music. So yeah, every song's great. These guys would later go on to become more of a prog metal band, but not like Opeth or Dream Theater. It actually sounded like kind of a classic. It's almost like it took Celtic Frost out of 1985 and took that machine from The Fly that Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, and you put like Eloy and Camel albums in one, and you put like Celtic Frost in the other one, and and Bathory, you kind of like forced them together, and it sounds great. They do a great job. They weren't really on that. They weren't really playing that style yet in 2003. It was still more like black metal, thrash metal. But yeah, probably my favorite band from Greece. When there's shit tons of great Greek bands, and this is just an awesome EP. I have the CD reissue. I have the original 10-inch vinyl, which again, that's a rare format. I think I only have like 2, and that's cassette reissue came out a year or 2 ago. So of course, you got to fucking collect them all. What's good having one version of an album if you can have 5. So Zemil, Face of the Conqueror from Greece, awesome EP, well worth checking out. And it's even though I say black thrash, these guys are not very it's very accessible. It's very melodic. The songwriting is really like just good and catchy. It's not like hammering blast beats or nothing. It's good stuff. It's really kind of I don't want to say easy listening, but it's very absorbing. We'll use that word. It's very absorbing stuff. So yeah, check these guys out. Zemil is the band. Great band.
Cool. All right, Kent, back to you.
My internet keeps working. Maybe I can get through this. This one everybody's heard 8 million times, including myself. I bought this right when it came out. I had no idea what it was, and this shit blew me away. For a long time, I thought they never really topped this. I've changed my mind about that now. But I mean, side one, Queen of the Reich and Knight Rider, it was just amazing back then. In like, what was this, 83? Blew my freaking mind. Not a whole lot else needs to be said. I mean, everybody's heard this 8 million times. One cool thing on the back here, they give a little shout out to Kerrang magazine, which I had never heard of at the time, and started reading and buying whatever I could find it after that, because killer, I mean, it's way better than freaking Hit Parader and Circus and whatever else. Awesome English metal mag. But yeah, first Queensryche EP, classic. So.
That album, that EP, I should say, changed the landscape of metal when that first came out. I remember first hearing that, and I was like, "What in the world is this?" Yeah,
I mean, Queen of the Reich, I think that might be the heaviest thing I had heard up to that point in my life. I know there's other stuff out there that's out at the same time, but when this came into my hands, you know, and I bought it completely not knowing what it was. It was on the wall at Rock and Roll Heaven, and I'm like, all right, let me grab this. And I came home, I was like, holy shit, man, what a job, man! I can't wait till they do the first album. And I didn't like the first album as much, but now I honestly think they got better as time went on. But this is, you know, memorable as hell.
Oh yeah,
blew me away as a kid. So
landmark stuff. Yeah, I got it here as well. Gotta have it. All right, Craig.
All right, my next pick is also from 1983, and I don't own a copy of it. I would like to get it one day, but and I'm going with Rat's 1983 EP, that their debut. I wish I had it. Rich Catino keeps telling me that it's going to get reissued. He keeps saying this year, but I don't know if it's happening. If it doesn't get released, I'm going to go steal his copy because I've had it. He's telling me this a couple times. But six songs, 7 songs on some European copies, but I only have 2 of them on a compilation, and that's You Think You're Tough and Tell the World. But the other songs on this are fantastic. Sweet Cheater, You Got It, Back for More, which would turn up on the Out of the Cellar album, and then a great cover of Walking Dog. So again, I'd love to get this. You can find them, I think, on or a CD on eBay for over $100, but I'm not maybe I'd try to get them down from that a little bit, or I will again steal Rich Catino's, and that is the Rat 1983 EP is my pick number 2.
Rich will be calling the locksmith tomorrow to get the new lock put on.
Won't matter.
He's got to hide the Rat and his Winger records. He's got to put
in
them
a
all
moat. Yeah. I think the Winger records are probably safe.
All right, Nick, back to you.
All right, so I'm going back to 1991, England, My Dying Bride, who I feel doesn't get enough love, even though they're fairly popular. This EP, Symphonaire Infernus et Spera Imperium. Say that 5 times.
Rolls right off the top.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Say it backwards.
yeah, I never make it easy on myself. But yeah, this is just Aaron Stainthorpe, the vocalist, who has a really great clean vocal. And these days he was doing a lot of the death metal vocal, and I'm telling you, I think he's got one of the best death metal vocals of all time. And back in 91, in their early years, his death vocals were just vicious. And this music also features violin, played by one Martin Powell, a very talented guy that's been in a bunch of bands. And so you had this real epic doom, sweeping, majestic songs with this undercurrent of anger and viciousness. But then you have like the violin in the backdrop. So it's just, to me, I got into it a few years after it came out, but I would imagine that, there wasn't much like this going on at the time. So to me, the combination of doom and death metal was probably never been done quite as good as these guys in the beginning. This version I have here also features the song God Is Alone, which is a 5-minute straight up death metal song that is one of the most, I think, underrated death metal songs of all time. If you like that stuff, check out God Is Alone. It's like a fucking coffin lid slamming against your fucking skull, but yet melodic. So I mean,
Coffee
that's
with-
really, I don't know,
like
words fail me. I want to come up with
No,
these
I didn't
loud-
belly right there. That's a great phrase.
It's like getting repeatedly, but then I don't want people to think, oh, it's unmusical. Fuck no, it's very musical.
Oh, it's very musical, yeah.
I'm not a musician. That God is alone. Just the timing of that song, like the drum timing and like the vocal lines, everything in that is really complicated. They were again brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So I can't say enough good things about My Dying Bride. So
It's a
we'll
heavy
go
coffin lid.
just repeatedly. You don't know if you're dead or alive. It's just hitting you.
repeatedly and melodically.
Yeah, and melodically though. It's like,
Yes.
oh, okay. Yeah, I love
Rob, back to you.
All right, so early '90s. We're in the '90s here, as Nick was just saying. I was working in the music. Well, I was working retail music. I was working for Nobody Beats the Wiz here in New York, and I remember when this album came out. Back in those days, you used to get a lot of promos. And can I get it in there? There you go. I still have the original. Jar Flies, Alice in Chains. One of my favorite albums, period, from Alice in Chains. Not just because it's an EP, but because I just love the music on here. Melodic. It was just, they went into the studio for a week. They threw down some tracks, and this is what they came up with. And it's a classic album today. I guess you can say in standards, but it's one of my favorite albums. Really great stuff on there. And unfortunately, we lost Lane years ago, but his voice on this was impeccable. The guy could sing, no doubt about it. One of the great singers from that time, from Seattle. When a lot of people didn't like a lot of the bands from Seattle because of the grunge and all that, but Alice in Chains to me is a different kind of band. Always was. They were always heavier and stuff. But this album really, for me, shined, and one of my favorite albums. So that's it for me. I had to dig this out because I couldn't find a lot of the stuff that I have. A lot of the stuff is in a basement, like Chris was talking about. I can't find shit. My wife's got so much shit down.
It's Pete's fault.
Yeah, it's in a void.
Easy to blame me.
He broke the AC.
Now, Chris, the trick will be if Rob actually goes and puts that back where it's supposed to be, and if he's got to,
I got to put it in my closet up here. I'm not going to put it back.
That's a good EP. That's way better than their other one, the SAP EP. I think.
I didn't like that one.
Heavy
that one I didn't like.
Stuff on that. Yeah, no, that one's really good. That's really good. All right, Ralph.
All right. Well, it's a good thing that I didn't even go to my 10-inch section because people are talking about how they got 1 or 2 10 inches. I got about 40 of them, and I just realized like every one of them is an EP. But I'm glad I didn't even look at them today because I'd be here forever. But all right, so my number 2, I'm doing like another kind of cheating thing here, but I'm gonna go Morbid Tales. It's for the longest time I didn't even think of this as an EP, but it is classified the first pressing, like this one that's autographed by Martin and Tom Warrior, and I got it in a frame where it's all shiny. But this is a unbelievable album EP. But I guess later on when the CD came out, it got extra songs, so it's like considered an album. But they also put out some other really great EPs at the time. Is Tragic Serenades, also signed by both of them. And Emperor's Return, also autographed. But I'm also throwing in Hellhammer, Apocalyptic Raids. I got to throw that in there. So I kind of lumping them all in together. But if I got to just pick one, I'm going with Morbid Tales on that. That's cool.
All right. I'm sticking in 1985, I believe. Yes, indeed. It is now. You can get it as opposed with the expanded Walls of Jericho, but I'm talking about the first Halloween EP, just titled Halloween. Starlight, Murderer, Warrior, Victim of Fate, and of course, Cry for Freedom. Right? I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that. Just I remember the first time I heard Halloween and heard that EP, I was like, holy cow! It's like Iron Maiden on like speed. Right, on steroids, because it's fast, it's vicious, great twin guitars, great vocals, just so heavy, it sounds so German. And then they would go put out the Walls of Jericho album and just blow my mind once again. But yeah, that first EP was, and you go to see them play those songs live today, it still sounds just as fresh as it did way back then. So yeah, the Halloween EP, like that's it right there, with the kind of the demon escaping through the jack-o'-lantern. So that's my second pick. That's
I have
cool.
a shaped picture disc of that EP with it's like the pumpkin, but it's a shaped picture disc of it. I didn't think of bringing it out.
I had that back in the day. Yeah, I don't have it anymore. Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, Mr. Allo, back to you.
All right, my number one pick is my number one pick because I like the songs, but also the quest that I had behind it. This EP was released in 1986, which was before I got into them. I started searching for this EP in 1988, and it took me 3 years to find an original copy, which I then got autographed. But I'm blaming Pete Pardo that I couldn't find that version because I showed it on the previous episode on favorite EPs. So now I will have to pull out the lowly CD version, and it's the 1986 EP, Unholy Passion from Samhain, Glenn Danzig's goth rock band in between Misfits and Samhain. Oh, there it is. Yep. Ralph has it. Impossible to fucking find. I remember in 91, Rockin' Rex Records it's one of those things when it rains, it pours. Rockin' Rex Records, which was a record store in Yonkers, New York, which had a lot of punk and metal. They found a copy for me, and I think they wanted in 1991 like 85 or 90 bucks, which was a lot of money in 1991.
A lot of money now for a fucking record.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I should have bought both of them because then a lady I work with was like, "Hey, did you try Trash American Style in Danbury, Connecticut?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "They're not going to have it." And she called, and they were like, "Yeah, they had it for 35 bucks." So I left work, went there and bought that. But then, now they go for like 500 bucks a pop for originals at least. So I should have went to both record stores and bought them both. But yeah, that's my number one. Like I said, I love the tracks, but also because the quest behind it was fucking unrelenting, and obviously for obvious reasons, yeah, you could see why this wasn't stocked in a lot of stores. I had heard I think there was only like 1,000 pressed in 1986, and I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe I know there was a second pressing where they did it in instead of tan, it was done in maroon. And I gave up because once I got the original, I was like, oh fuck it, I'll never find that one.
As long as you got it,
yeah,
that's what matters. Cool. Yeah, it's always the chase to get the Holy Grail is always lots of
absolutely
fun. Yeah. All right, Ryan, you're number one.
All right, I'm gonna go like Ralph here. I'm gonna do a double, and the reason I'm gonna do a double is because I have the CD version of these, and it has both EPs in one CD, so it kind of counts. So we're gonna go over to Belgium. This is a fairly recent band. The first one's from 2014, and the second one's from 2015. The band is Possession. Nick and myself just recently saw them at Metal Threat Fest in Chicago. For like modern, like black and death metal bands, easily like one of the best bands on the planet right now. They just do everything right. It's like right in the fucking wheelhouse for me. And one of the things I like about these, so the first one from 2014 is called Annalise. It's a 7-inch, 2-song 7-inch, so 45. There's a million bands that sing about Satan, kill Christ, Satan goats, fuck all that. That's cool. I have a million of those albums. But these guys, they delve into religious topics, but they delve it into like more of a reality based. When I say reality based, this EP is based on the story of Annalise Michael, which was a German girl that was thought to be possessed by a devil, Satan, whoever, Pazuzu, and underwent many dozens of exorcisms to get it out, and she ended up dying. And if you've seen the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, that's based on her. I think she died back in the 50s. So they based this EP on her, and of course it comes from a Black Death, this evil heavy metal angle. So it's not like this Christian angle of kind of like it's a very like honest, harsh take at like what happens and how her life went, and like the brutal the exorcisms and how she eventually died from, I think, malnutrition and just the horrid situation she was in. Just awesome, evil black metal, death metal. It's kind of like Celtic Frost again. It has that very old school vibe. One of the things that these guys do that a lot of bands, modern bands, don't do is they put a heavy emphasis on the bass guitar. I love like a fat, distorted, nasty bass guitar that's pretty high up in the mix, plays a significant role in the music. It's not buried, which unfortunately a lot of bands do, either by choice or by shitty production, whatever. Yeah, awesome EP. And the following year, they put out a this is a full-size album, but it's a 4-song EP. It's only it's 12-inch or sorry, vinyl size, but it's like the Queensryche. It's just 4 songs. In this case, it's called 1585 to 1646. So what do those numbers mean? That was the lifespan of a woman accused of witchcraft in France. I believe her name was Adrienne Deher. I'm gonna fuck that name up. I don't speak French. But during the Middle Ages, she was accused of witchcraft. And as you would expect, living back then, being accused of witchcraft, she was tortured. She did not confess, and eventually they killed her because that's what happened back then. So the 4 songs kind of go in sequence. Like the first song, it treats it like it actually happened. I said, now obviously in reality we know it's it's bullshit. It was just a way to basically round up people and execute them that disagree with the church. We know that. But the album, of course, doesn't make for good heavy metal. So this treats it like it was a real thing. So the first song treats it as this person is just living their life, and then the devil starts whispering in their ear and gets in there. And then it goes on to they're in the woods, conducting witchcraft rituals, kidnapping infants, kidnapping babies, eating them, drinking their blood, like witches are often accused of doing. Then it goes to she's convicted. The Inquisitor finds her. They rip her out of her house at 4 a.m, pitchforks, torches. And then the final song is called "The Blaze." I'm sure you can figure out what happens there. Tie her up, burn her at the stake. And she doesn't recant even when she's being burned alive. So it's just awesome story. If you're going to write a concept album or EP for like the subject matter, to me, that's the way to do it. Tells a cool story, very fucking metal, based in real historical events. So it's not like the generic, I love Slayer, I love Deicide, but those bands, they sing about pretty much the same stuff. So these guys choose to pull from actual real world things to kind of write their songs, which is cool. Following this, they had a full-length album in 2017. Same thing, goes into exorcism rituals, really dives into the stuff. Just one of those bands where I'm like, yeah, I actually want to sit and read the lyrics and listen along with it. And it's just great fucking heavy metal too. I've seen them a couple times, but as I'm sure Nick will attest, having seen them this year, amazing live band. They come out there and they give you 10,000%. Super high energy. Again, leather, soaked in blood. Get up there, fucking right in your face. Awesome show. Just how I like it. So my number 1 is Possession from Belgium. These 2 guys. Yeah, and there is a CD version that has both of them, which can be easily found. It's available, where all your good heavy metal products are sold. That's it.
They're great.
Cool. Dan, so what do you got for number 1?
All right, number 1. I'm going back to '84. This was a band that basically did nothing. I think they made 1 album after they did this EP. I only heard about them because I used to listen to Metal Shop on, PDH at 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday nights or whenever it was. And Charlie Kendall. And these guys were featured in the Fresh Metal, thing they did or whatever. And they're a local band, so I was able to find this EP, which you cannot find now, and it's TT Quick.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So the lead singer of TT Quick is Mark Tornillo, who's in Accept now. What he did in between those years, from here to his Accept time, I don't even know what that guy did. Was he in another band? I don't know. And the guitar player, Dave DiPietro, fucking killer guitar player. Don't know what happened to him either. But this is a great. He retired.
Yeah,
he's an accountant now. But this is 4 great songs and a sort of unnecessary cover of "Fortunate Son" by Creedence, which doesn't really fit with the rest of this music. But the song they played on Metal Shop was called "Metal Man," and he told the whole story about it's like, I had this idea for this superhero named Metal Man. The riff is and it's more like he's a mailman, but he's Metal Man. It's like he's delivering metal to the earth, and it's like a mail. But still a fucking killer song. This is a great. Got to go on YouTube, I guess, or if you could chase down a copy of this. It's not on any of the streaming services or anything, but where Mark Tornillo started out, and he sounds just as good now as he did on this, and it's killer. Butch knows what I'm talking about. I know he knows this band.
He's brought up that guitar player before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, nobody seems to know what he's been doing. I mean, they were such a workhorse of a local band, right? I mean, they played all up and down New York and New Jersey for all those years.
Actually, I'm friends with David on Facebook, and he's just a family guy now. He plays in Christian bands and stuff like that now. Believe it or not.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool that he's still playing.
Yeah. All right, cool. Craig.
All right, my number one pick is from Wino, the famed guitar player singer from St. Vitus and from The Obsessed. This is The Hidden Hand, Devoid of Color. This is his band that he had from 2002 to 2007. And this 5 tracks 1 and 5, called The Key and Reprise, respectively, kind of are instrumentals and sort of act like the spinach cheddar wrap to the meaty goodness of tracks 2, 3, and 4, which are fantastic. The songs Devoid of Color, The Dagger, and Vulcan's Children. This is classified as doom, but the songs aren't really very doomy. They're more just like quality metal. And they're not even that slow. They're mid-paced or a little bit faster. Wino sings 2 of the songs, and bass player Bruce Falkenberg sings The Dagger. And again, they're just fantastic songs. The Hidden Hand released 3 full-length albums, this EP, and maybe a couple of split CDs or singles along the way, but only for 5 years or so. He formed this band after Spirit Caravan had broken up, and which was after The Obsessed. So in the long line of things that Wino has done all through the years, The Hidden Hand is a really cool band that he had. So check out, if you can, Devoid of Color, and I think you'll really like the middle songs, especially the meaty, tasty goodness of that middle is very satisfactory.
Nice. Yeah, he's done a lot of
No
stuff.
bun deal on that one.
Finish cheddar.
The reverse bun.
Reverse.
All right, Nick, your final pick of the day.
All right. Do you want me to just go through Bryce's quick right now and then give
Yeah,
my
sure. Yep.
Yeah. Bryce's top 3 EPs are Master of Disaster by Holy Moses, which came out in 2001, the Merciful Fate EP, and Heavier Than Metal is his number 1 by the band Skullfist, which is a band that he has repped a lot. They're a good young band, totally good, thrashy, blackened goodness. For me, I'm looking around again. I've got so much that I could put in this number 1 spot that I can't even sort them. So I'm going to go off the reservation a little bit, and I'm going to share with everyone here an EP by a guy who's near and dear to my heart, the singer of the band Primordial from Ireland, Alan Averill, and his cousin Gareth. I think they did this. I don't want to say they did it during the pandemic, but I should really prepare more, shouldn't I? But anyway, they made a sort of, I guess you could call it electro goth rock, a lot of synths and really Alan's voice just really good, really clean singing, nothing metal or death on this. And they call it April Men. The name is derived from Alan's last name, Averill, which means April in a Gaelic or Old English, Irish. I'm not sure actually where it comes from, but the EP is called Heavy Hearts, and it's really, it's very EP-ish because it's not a lot of songs. There's 4 songs and 2 covers, and the covers are New Year's Day by U2 and Love Is the Drug by Roxy, the Roxy band.
Music.
Yeah. So this is not your usual, I guess the usual fare that I would talk about, but it turns out that I want to say 2 years ago, while I was commuting back and forth to work, playing a lot of Spotify in the car, I guess Spotify tells you, what you listen to and ranks, all the songs that you listen to in terms of frequency, and the song Heavy Hearts off of this, the title track, is the song I played the most, I think in 2021 maybe. And it really is just the smoothest and most it's real easy listening. It's just like the keyboards are beautiful and the arrangements are simple and it's very singable music. So I had all this death and black metal and everything here, and obviously I can always go with that, but just in the interest, like I said, of being a little different, just a really brilliant. They may never write another note of music again. I don't think they perform it. It's pretty special. So I think it's definitely something everyone should check out. April Men.
Love is the Drug is an inspired choice of a cover.
Yeah, that's a great song. I love it. It's so silly. I love it. So, yeah.
What do you got, Rob? Finish us off.
Well, Christian stole my number one. So, but I mean, you know, Queensryche is one of my favorite bands, top three bands, you know, Priest, Maiden, and Queensryche. And it's funny too, because this album, they were actually doing covers of Priest and Maiden when they first started as the Mob. And, you know, Jeff Tate joined them on stage. They liked Tate, I guess, at the time, but Tate said, "I'm not doing covers. I want to do something original." And this is when they wrote the EP. And I mean, you can hear Queen of the Reich as you guys were talking about. I mean, for me, when I first heard that, and I remember a friend of mine told me about the band. So we used to go every Tuesday. We used to go to new release. We used to go to either Mad Platters or Sam Goody or somebody like that. But Mad Platters always had, like, especially stuff that was like kind of, you know, you didn't see it like in the regular stores. And he told me he had to pick this up, and I picked it up, and I fell in love with him as soon as I heard this EP. And Queen of the Reich, I mean, Jeff Tate's vocals on this is amazing, amazing, you know. And then Knight Rider, and then Blinded, and then of course Lady Wore Black, which is one of those real just gothic kind of feeling songs, and they just build up, and they still do, you know, they still do justice with these songs today. But for me, that is my number one EP, probably of all time for me personally. I mean, I you know, I have, like I said, I wasn't an EP guy either, you know, but when I heard that, because this was their first album, and I think Christian said, you know, they even got better, because for me, when they did Rage is when I really got into, I mean, Queensryche, then they went to a different dimension, and they kind of, them and Fates Warning really created the prog metal that we know today. So that's my number one pick.
Cool. Ralph.
I love EPs. I've always loved them. I think bands should be doing more EPs instead of making us wait 5 years for a fucking album. Throw out an EP in between. Iron Maiden doesn't need to be putting out a Senjutsu with a double album where we got to wait for years and stuff. Just throw out an EP or two and then throw out a single album. Who wants to dedicate an hour to listening to an album every time they want to play it? You know, I love EPs. All right, so my number two, you know, my number one was Slayer. So my number two, it's always been the same too. It's been this is their debut was this album EP, In the Sign of Evil by Sodom, but Express from Sodomy is my second favorite EP of all time. I love all three of these songs. It's right up there with Haunting the Chapel. These songs are amazing. Sodomy and Lust, My Atonement, and The Conqueror. I love this. If you buy Persecution Mania on CD, these three songs get put on there, and it just makes Persecution Mania like one of the greatest albums ever. Like if you would put Haunting the Chapel songs on a Hell Awaits CD, it would make that album 10 times better, you know. But yeah, I've always loved this album. First from Sodomy by Sodom.
Yeah, I think for me, it goes without saying that my 1 and 2 probably in whatever order is Haunting the Chapel and the Queensryche. I mean, those are amazing. But since we've already talked about them, I have another one that was in my honorable mentions list that I'll talk about now. It's 1996's In Memory from Nevermore, which is 5 tracks. You know, if you get the CD reissue, they had a whole bunch of other stuff on here, but originally it was 5 songs, four of which were kind of like reworked older songs from Sanctuary that Nevermore then made their own, as well as a little medley of a couple of Bauhaus songs, which Silent Hedges and Double Dare. So you got Optimist or Pessimist, Matricide, In Memory, and Sorrowed Man. And again, World Dane and Company, heavy stuff. It's just a shame we don't have them anymore, but really cool EP from early in their career, 1996. That's my final choice.
I forgot all about that one, Pete, too. Damn.
Yeah, it's a good one, right? Yeah,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
And it's one of the bands that I didn't get to see that I always wanted to see.
Oh, you never got to see him? Yeah, good luck.
No, I only saw Sanctuary when he toured with Overkill in Symphony X.
Cool. Anybody got any honorable mentions? Chris, you got any?
I have like a bunch of other copies. No, wait, this is the wrong one. Oh no, that's it. Yeah, Slayer Live Undead.
Undead. Yeah.
Oh wait, I got another shit. I already lost the other copy I had. But yeah,
Live appearing in your lap.
It's Pete's fault.
See,
it's always my fault.
It's all Pete's fault.
It is Pete. See there. It is. I know I had another one. I got a couple more on vinyl, but that's Pete's fault that I lost them. I only like old Soundgarden, and this is like a promo live EP they did, Louder Than Live from like 100 years ago. I looked like for years for this. I found it when I was a kid for $1.99, and I know because for some reason the store wrote the price on the back when I bought it. But yeah, I got that for $2. The Twisted Sister demo, and I really like this one, Surf Nicaragua.
That's good. Yeah.
Sacred Reich, and that's my. The ones that I did that I couldn't find the originals because of you, Pete Pardo.
Okay.
Shame.
I'm terrible. I know. I'm terrible.
Of course.
Ryan, you got any left?
Yeah. I like some of you guys said I had a million choices, but I chopped it down, so I only kept it to two. So one of my favorite bands of all time, my favorite Italian band of all time, going down to 1991. Before they had an album out, so they had a couple demos. Came out with the first EP. So Ralph was talking about EPs is preferred. I like when a band does an EP before an album, because sometimes bands come out with albums right out of the gate, and it's like you didn't have enough time to like kind of perfect your art in a way, and it's kind of like hasty. I don't know. A good EP first kind of like lube the gears. So that's what these guys did, and it's fucking great. The band was Mortuary Drape, and the EP was called Into the Drape. And a lot of the CD copies of their first album, As the Witches Dance, have the tracks tacked on. So in fact, this copy does have both the first album, which is great, and then the EP tracks tacked on there as well. But yeah, these guys, again, it's just like that classic, like Mediterranean style black metal, not too different from like the Greek black metal, which I love. Sounds totally different than the Norwegian style. It's much more grounded to like kind of classic 80s heavy metal. So like you can really hear like those Iron Maiden, Venom, Merciful Fate, like those influences really kind of work their way into the music. So that's something I've always loved about it. And it just has that something about these bands too, the way it has, Italy obviously has a great fucking tradition of classic horror movies, Argento, Fulci, Bava, I just watched Black Sunday the other week. Just the atmosphere in those movies, the feeling behind it. And when Italy started producing heavy metal bands in the 80s, a lot of them obviously have Goblin, which is not a heavy metal band, but they had that great atmosphere, in like movies like Suspiria. So when Italy did start producing heavy metal bands, some of the best ones were really, really good at that. Like it made you feel like you're in one of those like movies. Just the way they incorporated atmosphere and feeling, you really felt like you were in like a fucking cemetery with like the fog banks rolling in, and there's Barbara Steele up on the hill with like just great. So these guys, to me, of all the Italian bands, probably did it better than anybody. And I don't think it's the best thing they ever did, that EP, but it's up there. But it's a great definition of like where they would end up going. And again, like I said with the other guys, the bass guitar is prominent in the mix. It's loud, it's nasty, it's disgusting. Motorhead got that shit right in the 70s. Band should never have fucking gotten rid of that. Keep that bass guitar in the mix. Don't turn on the bass.
Amen.
Don't Injustice for All me. Keep that fucking bass up, Lars. Yeah, I love it. So then the next one, also one of my favorite EPs. I think I might have talked about this one when we did this show last time. It was a couple of years ago. My memory sucks, so fuck it. Going down to Australia. The band was Gospel of the Horns, and the EP was Eve of the Conqueror. So I just realized this before. We got Zemiel, Face of the Conqueror, and I got Gospel of the Horns, Eve of the Conqueror. So that guy gets a lot of airtime tonight. And this is very traditional of the Australian sound of metal. So it has that kind of filthy Motorheadish vibe. It's like real like breakneck, very thrash metal, some black metal influence. But it's not like Norwegian black metal. It has that like that Motorhead gallop to it. It's like black metal you can like slam beers to and like, break windows or something. If you're into that shit, don't break the law, kids. But yeah, just a great EP. They would end up going on to put out a couple albums, broke up a couple years ago, didn't put out too much stuff. So everything they did is really good. One of those bands with like a smaller discography, but this is one of their early releases. And I think some of the best stuff they ever did. Still pretty easy to find. It's been reissued a couple times. This copy is from a box set that I got of all their stuff. So it has this cool cover on the back. But this is the original EP artwork that went with it. Yeah, if you like good Australian metal, if you like Motorhead, if you like Venom, if you like any of that stuff, and you haven't heard Gospel of the Horns, check them out. And this is a good place to start. So that's my honorable mentions.
Chef's kiss to that.
Jeff's kiss.
Hans, you got any left?
I just had a couple that I couldn't find. I actually was looking. I have a copy of that Rat EP somewhere in this house. And I could not locate it. And I was also trying.
That's Pete's fault.
Huh?
That is Pete's fault.
Damn it, Pete. It's going forever now. Thanks.
I think we should blame Rich Catino. That's where he got his copy from.
Yeah, right. It disappeared into thin air and appeared at his place.
Yep.
And then also I was trying to find my copy of Made in Japan, which I cannot locate.
Oh, yeah.
But there it is. Pre-expanded version of Made in Japan, of course. So those are mine too.
All right. Craig.
All right, this one is Karen Lopez approved, but this is Nebula's Dose EPs. This is actually 2 EPs that they remastered, remixed, and put on here with 3 new songs. This was a split CD that they did with Lowrider, and this one is called Sun Creature. But the songs on this are great. Fall of Icarus, Full Throttle, Rocket, Smoking Woman is one of them. Great tracks, some psychedelic stoner rock. And again, these are all 3 members were formerly in Fu Manchu. And the other pick I had was Accepts Kaitsoku Ban from 1985, which is 6 live tracks from the Metal Heart tour in 1985. And right there, Ralph's holding it. So that's my second honorable mention.
Cool. All right. Nick?
Pieces by Dismember. Death's Crown is Victory by UK doom band Solstice. If Candlemass and Manowar had a baby,
That would be an ugly baby.
it would
It'd be a heavy baby.
beautiful, epic baby.
It'd be a heavy
It's a
Yes,
baby.
baby.
sword wielding baby.
Sword wielding baby with a big crown on its head.
Yeah. Morphus Black Winter Day and Morphus Mycanthala.
Fur
Perfection.
diapers.
This is Mordanus Land by Enslaved. Oh yeah, vulgar necrolatry and all that. Yes, Ralph, very much. And lastly, I'll say Samael Rebellion. I think I talked about them last time we did this. They were transitioning from this creepy black metal band to the electronic stuff. And Rebellion, the song itself, is is my favorite Samael song. It's caught between their changing influences, fucking amazing. They reworked some older stuff on here and made it sound a little more psychedelic, spacey, and industrial. They covered I Love the Dead by Alice Cooper. So, yeah, that's pretty much mine. And real quick, Bryce had a few honorables. He had White Wizards High Speed GTO 2009. I'm not familiar with that. He had the Rat EP 1983, Queensryche EP, Haunting the Chapel, and Razor Armed and Dangerous, which I also would put.
Cool. Rob?
Yeah, just 2. One that Nick just mentioned. I knew he's gonna. I had a feeling he was gonna mention Amorphous Black Winter Day. Great album, great EP. One of their best songs. And another one that I love, another band that's death metal, melodic doom. I've mentioned them many times on the show. Daylight Dies, Idol. Their first release that they ever put out before they got on Candlelight Records. And it's 6 songs. 2 of them are piano, but the other songs are brutal. I mean, they opened up. I think they opened up for Emperor, and they've been on tour with Lacuna Coil and a couple other Moonspell. They're on Candlelight Records, but that's one of my favorite one of my favorite bands of all time is They Like Dice for me personally. So
Really good live band. I've seen them a couple times. Really good. Really good. Cool. Ralph.
All right, here we go. Sorry for pulling out a million of them again, but they were just popping out at me as I was looking for the ones I was looking for. So I try to be really quick. This Madball, Ball of Destruction, Freddie Madball is only 12 years old on this. This is probably one of the most expensive albums to find if you try to buy that today, the original.
well,
Not the Front, United Blood EP, really unique old thing to find. 2 Incantation EPs, 7 inches, Discharge, what's it called? Born to Die Together. Dead Guy, Worth Ethic, Violent Pacification, 7-inch, some Black Flag ones, 6-pack, and TV Party. I thought fucking Bryce would have been pulling out these. I had these because I figured Bryce would be pulling them out, but
Oh,
Days and Fuck Like a Beast, Twisted Sister, Jag Panzer.
Oh, that's a good one.
I also have this on picture disc, a shaped picture disc. This was always a great one back in the day, the Mr. Crowley live EP. Rising Force Live 85 EP. Riot Live EP.
Oh, yeah.
Rainbow EP. 74 Jailbreak. Drinking out of the glass.
oh yeah,
today.
yep, I had that one.
Mentors Live at the Whiskey. King Diamond. Dark Sides. Retribution for the Dead by Autopsy. High on Fire, Bat Salad. They do Into Crypts of Rays on this, really cool. By Celtic Frost. Bolt Thrower, Cenotaph. Blood Come. Everybody likes that band. Jeff Hanneman and Tom Array, his brothers in there. Some Venoms. A lot of Venoms. I didn't even pull them all out. But this is one that I thought Scow would have had. Debut by Emperor. Picture disc.
Yeah, it's tattooed on my arm right there.
Get the tattoo, but he didn't pick it as a favorite EP though.
Figured I'd leave it. Yeah.
Eyes of Horror by Possessed. This was paint. I got this hand painted on my denim vest, and this is what I wore in high school. I should have pulled out the vest for this, but you guys just went to go see them at the Overkill debut, and they also had this classic, the Fuck You fucking EP.
Which they always play that song.
Yep.
King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas. Nuclear Assault, The Plague.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Nuclear Assault, Brain Death. Blood Feast, Feast Fate, picture disc. Mad Butcher by Destruction.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Bauhaus, Bela Lugosi's Dead. I went to see Hollywood Vampires last night, and the show opens up with a recording of this playing while they have stuff going on in the background. And Pete rang them up with Nevermore doing some of their songs. But a couple of Black Flag ones. Jealous Again. Exploited War Now EP. Dead Kennedys and God We Trust EP. More Dead Kennedy stuff. Holiday in Cambodia. He wrote to Ralph, Jello Biafra Stein. He said for Ralph, and it's a guy hitting the guy with the chair, like he's hitting me with the chair. Conformity, Technocracy, the last one with Mike Dean singing.
What do you got, a trailer back there?
He's got Steve Keeler's old inventory from Rock Band.
Holy Christ.
Wendy L. Williams, Fucking Roll, live at L'Amour's, 3-song EP. This one almost made my top EPs. Is Butcher Baby EP by the Plasmatics, signed by Richard Scott. Die Die My Darling by the Misfits. Evil Live, the EP version. Minor
You
Threat,
got those, Chris?
Yep.
Out of Step. Anarchy in the UK, Sex Pistols. Henrietta Collins and the Wife Beating Child Haters. Rollins.
Big selling band right there.
I love that
This is a
name.
cool one. This is it's 4 EPs. They put them together as one album called EPLP by the Subhumans. Can You Push You Do the Dog by the Cramps, and a couple more, sorry. Oh, Sepultura, Bestial Invasion, or Bestial Devastation. I only have this on cassette. I don't know anybody who had this on vinyl back in the day or anything, but it was like a split with the band Overdose.
Yeah, I've never seen the original vinyl anywhere.
Yeah, back in the day, this is all like you could ever find was the cassette of that. But a couple quick CDs is Mass Appeal Madness by Napalm Death,
That's a good one.
Massacre, Dead Guy, Work Ethic, and Hammer Smash Face had unreleased songs on here, and that's it. Not too long.
All right.
They gotta put all those away.
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
All right, I just got a couple quick ones. So I think Nick mentioned Candlemass before. They've got a whole bunch of really good EPs that they put out over the last decade or so, but I didn't pull any of those out. Meshuggah's EP I is really good. It's like one long 22-minute track or something like that. That's really good. And I figure we got to mention it because at the time most of us liked it. 598 Garage EP by Metallica. Lots of fun.
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one I want to mention is two of them. Down released Down 4 Part 1 and Part 2 is two separate EPs. They're both really, really good. Those are the last things we heard from them. So yeah, that's all I got. So cool. There you have it, everybody. Some of our favorite EPs of all time. Down in the comments below, list your favorite EPs and why you like them. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks for the Hudson Valley Squares. Till then, for Chris Canzaneri, Chris Allo, Craig Kaminsky, Nick Franco, Ryan Scow, Rob Lasante, and Count Ralphus himself, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you real soon. Bye-bye.